Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 12 of UnCoMfY CoNvOs. This is your boy Shiv, your guy, your man, as always. And today we're going to talk about homeschooling anxiety, which isn't, I don't know why I'm laughing. It's not funny at all. It's a very serious topic. And we have a very qualified guest to speak on this topic. He was actually homeschooled as well. But in addition to that, he's a very funny comedian in the city. Performs all over. They call him the tweet daddy on Twitter. If you need a dad on Twitter, you know, he's your guy. He's your guy. The username is at I'm Peter Moran. Peter is P-E-T-E. Oh, I'm just kidding. You guys probably just need to know how to spell Moran. M-O-R-A-N. So yeah, throw him a follow, right before, maybe let's finish listening to this episode first and then do it. Without further ado, let's just, I don't even need to introduce him. You probably already know his name. If not, you should, because he's so hilarious. Welcome, Peter Moran.
Oh, wow. Laying it on thick, Shiv. Oh my God. Tweet daddy though, yeah. Remember the name. If you need a father, I will come and I will beat you and then teach you how to play catch. Is this what you expected from the homeschooler?
Yeah. No, I did not. I'm be honest. But no, yeah. If I do like the idea. First of all, where did Tweet Daddy come from? When?
Ooh, I don't know. Someone called me Tweet Daddy. Here's the long story short, because I don't like to expose the family. Is I run a bit of a mafia in Twitter of people that help other people, and they refer to me as Tweet Daddy, and I took it and I put it in my name so people would respect me more.
So you're a part of a mafia on Twitter.
Look, I can't get into it here publicly, but there are people that I mess with that are serious people, serious Twitter users, and they have serious intentions to grow each other's account. And I'm the father. I'm Tweet Daddy.
Yeah, as long as you're not doing anything illegal, it's fine.
Look, I'm all right. I know what I'm doing. I'm a big boy.
I love how you're like, I don't know if it is or not.
Look, is cyberbullying illegal or just frowned upon? That's the real question.
Oh man, that's good, man. I respect. I've never heard that before. But
okay.
But you are Tweet Daddy. I see a lot of the tweets. They're very funny. Been coming out with a lot of videos lately on Insta.
Yeah.
Attacking. I love how you see the virus as a person.
I like personifying the virus. That's been my favorite running joke.
Yeah.
I challenged it to a duel actually a few days ago.
Did you win?
I'm waiting on a response. It actually has not accepted. I showed up Times Square noon on Saturday, 10 paces, but the virus didn't show up.
Yeah.
I like to think of the virus as like an abusive parent as well, or like a cunning friend that leads you down, quote unquote friend that leads you down the wrong path. There's a lot of villain tropes for the virus.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's definitely a villain. I agree with you there.
It's naughty.
It's naughty. Yeah, it's a bad boy or girl.
Hey, look, it's a bad bye-bye. Okay.
Yeah.
It needs to learn its lesson, and that's where I come in. Have we tried spanking the virus?
That's where Daddy comes in.
Have we tried bending it over my knee and imprinting a spatula? That's what I was spanked with. A spatula on the rump. Bare cheek if you've been bad.
Yes, all the listeners, all we have to do is spank it. We just have to spank
the right size fly swatter.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Well, let's just do a smooth transition here into homeschooling.
Smooth is how we do it.
That's how we do it. I was wondering if well, this is really not a smooth transition.
No, it's slipping. The caution wet floor.
It's that smooth. I was wondering, is homeschooling, instead of talking about being quarantined, is homeschooling like being quarantined?
Well, people are homeschooling their kids as a result of quarantine, so there's something to that. I went to school for 2 years. I was homeschooled through sophomore year of high school, and then junior, senior, I went to a school.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference, this is the difference, is when I was homeschooled, for the most part, I was happily blissful, blissfully unaware that I was not, it's not that I wasn't allowed to leave the house, but that I was not interacting with anyone in the outside world. And now I have a life in the outside world, unlike those days, and I want to be a part of it, and I can't. So the difference is the restriction. It's the long for something that you can't have. But when I did stop being homeschooled, I kind of come to terms with maybe there's a bigger world out there, and I would like to go see it. And that's what led me out of it.
Yeah. That reminds me of Shawshank Redemption, when they're in prison and they want to stay because they are afraid of what's on the outside.
You get used to a way of life. You're only comfortable with society on the inside.
So you're saying if you continued to be quarantined, or if you continued to be homeschooled, you'd be doing really well in this quarantine.
I will say, actually, yeah. I bet people that. Okay, so I look at my family. I have 6 siblings, and only one of them went to high school. Mm-hmm. So I look at my siblings, and it's a range, but the siblings that were homeschooled all the way through, and as a result, are less social people, probably. And as a result, are missing their social lives less right now. Quarantine's tough on everyone, not so much people that did well being homeschooled. If homeschooling is your nature, it wasn't mine, then you're probably hanging in there, right? You're not used to the big bad outdoors.
Yeah, those big bad outdoors are big and bad.
Those doors be swinging like a saloon.
No, that's a really interesting point. I think that, because the way I think of homeschooling, and again, I'm someone who speaks from no homeschool experience, and the way I think of it is, you get up, everyone shares that commonality, but then instead of going to school at a separate school, you stay at home, and then and then usually, at that time, most people would be in school and then you go back home, but then you're just home throughout the day. So
yeah, the seamlessness of working from home right now and then still being there, very akin to homeschooling.
Oh, got it.
That is more accurate. That being said, I would have a sporting event. I would get out and I would go. But there were many days where, 3:00 rolls around, I'm done with everything, and then I'm still with my siblings, my schoolmates, if you want to call them. Now we have the outdoors. Now I can watch TV or read a book or whatever. Not really watch TV. We're homeschooled. We didn't do that.
Yeah.
But I could do more stuff in the same place, and that's what I'm experiencing now. It's I'm on my laptop trying to do work from, I should say 9 to 5, but it's not 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And then and then it's all right, now I need to make this space fun time. I guess I'll just pour a drink. See what happens.
Yeah, nobody's watching over. just kind of I can get a drink.
Yeah. Now that it's 6:00, I'm still at the office.
Yeah.
But the office is my home, and it's small.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. There it is. Do you do that thing where you I do this all the time. If you're working from home and you tap your mouse to show you're online.
Oh yeah. I usually from 9 to 11, I'm very inactive. I'm just present. If there's an email, I want people to know that I got the email.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll respond, whatever. But from that period of time, it's mostly just a little mouse wiggling.
Dude, I've taken a shower while like mouse wiggling.
Oh yeah, oh Shiv. I've I mean, I now I'll drop in like a meeting. You don't know what the meeting is, so that it shows up as busy in a meeting. So I'm theoretically like on a call, but I'm just gone.
Oh,
I'm gone.
yeah, that's the best when you have that meeting block, because then you don't have to do it.
Yeah, and I can drop a meeting on my calendar and not label it, and it'll just show up as a meeting to other people.
You just put a meeting for the whole day.
It's so funny because we're in this zone where like work is stressful and people are like, come on, we need that thing. And I'm just life is so surreal now. I'm like, who cares, dude? Like, yeah, sure, fire me, okay.
Yeah.
Like I care.
Yeah.
That's my whole mindset.
Yeah, and if they do, you're like, it was because of the virus. I was gonna say with the back to homeschooling, so again, smooth transition. No, I'm wondering, you talked about having like sporting events and stuff. So after maybe studying like inside the house during the day, like would you why is that funny?
You're just like inside the house where you belong in your cage.
I didn't say that's where you belong.
Like, get back in the house.
When you're studying inside the house where Peter belongs.
Thank you.
You said you'd have like a sporting event or something. Did you try to, like most days, you said sophomore, junior year, right? You were homeschooled?
Junior year, I went to a school.
Oh, got it.
So junior, senior year, but up until then.
Oh,
but
got it.
So a part of the reason I went was because I wanted to play sports. And
oh, got it.
I played baseball, which is a summer sport, and it's more important in the summer than like the spring school season. So like summer travel ball was more important. So I could still move along in my career as a baseball player while being homeschooled. But I played basketball, which like I wasn't going to play in college. It was more for fun. I wanted to do that at the school, and I wanted to actually have a spring season for baseball because in the spring I didn't have a baseball season, so I felt like I was behind a lot of the other kids. But all that to say, it was like town organized stuff, the sporting events, and then one like dinky league that was tiny private schools, and they would allow some kids that were homeschooled to play on the team because it was so unregulated, because it was such like a nobody cares league.
Yeah. So you would say up until that junior year, you would play baseball as a part of the leagues.
I would play baseball in the summer, and it wasn't a big issue, but as the high school season became more and more important, and by junior year, everyone's playing varsity ball, so like I needed to go to a school to play and to have the same reps as other kids my age, which ironically was just like more stress on my arm. And not good, but whatever.
Yeah, gotta get those.
Whatever, no regrets.
No regrets.
Yeah,
gotta get those reps in, man.
How can you not?
Gotta get those reps in, bro. So you would play baseball. Was there a bigger emphasis for you on getting out to be able to go play baseball because that was more of an escape? Like you're like, this is my thing outside of home. Like this is a really fun thing that I can do.
I had kind of a weird experience playing baseball because I wasn't like upset about being homeschooled until like high school. I started to get like bored and lonely.
Yeah.
So that's when it started being, but prior to that, I was just like blissfully unaware of how weird my circumstances were. Like I knew everyone was like, oh, you're homeschooled? That's crazy. What's that like? But it wasn't a big deal to me. And then, so I played baseball and I was better than most kids. I was growing faster. So up until the time I was like 12, I was normal because we were just little kids. And by the time I was like 12, 13, I started to be weird because I was homeschooled and I was missing, I missed the learning curve. Like kids are hitting puberty and people, and 6'9" is a joke now. 69 is now a joke. And I didn't know that it was a joke. I didn't know 420 was a bit.
Yeah.
So then I started to be a loser when I was like 13, 14. But I was also like so much better than pretty much everyone I was playing with.
Yeah.
So it's like the best, like the star of the team, and maybe I'm exaggerating, but on some teams at least, the star of the team is usually like the cool kid. And I was a loser. Socially, I was a loser. People liked me on the field. They knew they could trust me. It's like, oh yeah, Peter's awesome. And then we get off and we go hang out as a team. And it's like, I don't want to talk to that guy.
Oh no, that's so
So it's like
sad.
it it was it was a weird paradox. Like people didn't dislike me. They just knew I was crazy sheltered and they couldn't like talk about some stuff around me, or I just wouldn't know what they were talking about when they brought up other stuff. So
Hmm.
it was just this weird thing of being like, yeah, one of the best players on the team is also the guy that like is treated like the bad boy because socially I was so inept.
Got it.
Yeah.
That was, dude. That was good. So although it was tough, you were a great baseball player.
It was maybe I wonder if there's a motivating factor where if I was like, if I'm really good, then they have to. I wasn't. It was. There were some moments where I felt like super isolated with them, but for the most part, it was just like I was uncomfortable. So it was kind of good they weren't like talking to me much because I couldn't really hold my own in a conversation that wasn't about baseball. I was
Yeah.
awkward. And then I think even in high school, I think I was still like I thought people were laughing with me, but they were laughing at me a little bit more at that point. Like I was still coming into my own. I still was like I was definitely a weird dude. There's
Yeah.
no it wasn't purely homeschool weird because I know plenty of homeschoolers and it's like, oh, I don't wear shoes. It was somewhat homeschool weird, but it was also just like the weird that is in my nature and that still is a part of me.
Yeah. That's very interesting. I also love how you were like, while other kids were hitting puberty, that's when that's when the problem started. And it's like, Peter, did you not? Were you not hitting it at the same time?
See, no, because classes were accelerated, so I hit puberty at like 9. No, it's a great point. I was also hitting it. I just didn't know I was hitting it. So I was just like, I have a pimple on my nose. Even more reason not to talk to me. Dude, I had a pimple. It was so big. It was my first pimple ever. This is the most important part of the podcast. Listen up to this one. I had a pimple on my nose. It was so big, and I had recently broken my nose, so my nose had just become big, and then this like it was like if you put two BBs on top of each other protruding from my nose, and it was my first pimple ever, so I didn't even know what was going on, and it was enormous, like stop and stare enormous.
Like Pinocchio big.
Yes, it was like you couldn't you got a zit or something. It was just like this is who I am now.
It's like a new body part.
Pretty much. It was like, how many noses do you need, bro? You have 3 nostrils.
Yeah. That probably didn't help with the social aspect.
No, dude, I'm looking back at that time. I thank God for sports. Thank God for the universal language of sports when I couldn't talk about 6'9", 420 with the other guys.
Yeah.
People would be like, you know that movie when, and I eventually, because I never like went to the movies, eventually I just had to be like, yeah, no, I know. Because every conversation when you're 12 begins with, it's like in that movie. And I would just like, what movie?
It's like in that movie.
That
No, nobody has an original thought at 12 years old. It's it's like in that movie.
we had dodgeball. We had dodgeball and Will Ferrell quotes, and that was our personality when we were 12. That was all you get. Dodgeball, Will Ferrell quotes, and if you saw a new video on YouTube, dude, hell yeah.
But you say you didn't go to the movies and stuff. I mean that's not is that a homeschooling rule?
So here's a frequent overlap with homeschool is like hardcore conservatism, and as a result of that, my parents were very strict about any type of me. So homeschooling was to shelter me from kids talking about 6'9", 420.
Mm-hmm.
And alongside the attitude that wanted me sheltered from that was you shouldn't see this movie or that movie, which was most movies. It wasn't like, I mean, I exaggerate. By the time I was like a teenager, I watched movies. I'd seen some. I just like didn't watch anything that was rated R. Like I was very sheltered, but it wasn't like I don't know what a movie is. But I wasn't keeping up with the references by any means. Like I definitely had way less exposure to that stuff.
Yeah. Do you know what 6'9" and 420 is now?
Yeah.
Because I can
Yeah.
explain.
I would like you to explain 6'9", and then I'll tell you what I first thought it was.
So 6'9", I brought this upon myself. So
Yeah.
6'9", for any of the listeners who are maybe more conservative, when mommy, it's like
Yeah.
it's something that may happen before you have kids.
You're right on.
Yeah,
You're doing great.
and, and it's a show of affection and love at a very deep level.
I like that you used a euphemism that if I didn't know what it was, I still wouldn't know. The first we were in right field, okay, catching some fly balls, and couple kids come up and they go, "See, even Peter, I bet he knows what 6'9" is." And I go, "2/3, reducing fractions, smart man." And they said, "Even Peter gets it," just to fuck with the other kid,
Yeah.
just to make the other kid think that's what it was. And they said, "Even Peter, the homeschooler." So it's not that it stuck with me for 14 years, but
Clearly.
like
I'm sorry to
make
bring back these memories.
So yeah, you're talking about homeschooled anxiety. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't have any of those. I don't even know what.
It never occurred to me that I might be different.
No issues there.
Yeah, it was smooth sailing for sure. And then she touched my stomach
and dude, there's so much there with the social aspect of that, like just like interacting with other people on, like, I guess the baseball team was mainly where you would see those kids who are in the school, but yeah, there's a lot there. I'm sorry that it's horrible that they like would like I don't know, they like was it bullying or was it
that was actually a really funny situation, because that was the peak of my growth spurt. My success in sports at 12 peak, like that was when I was, for my age, the best. And I was also the biggest. So I was surrounded by these like miniature beings. Yes, I hit puberty. They knew how to talk about it, but they didn't hit it. So now I'm like this giant among boys, but intellectually I'm the child.
Oh, got it.
You need to babysit me. You can use my girth on the field. But you need to babysit me in the dugout, because I don't know what you're talking about when you're making these sexual innuendos, and it's making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, you're like the best player on the team, but they're like you like don't know when it's your turn to bat.
Yeah, that's kind of what I don't know. I think homeschooling gave me an edge in sports because I was able to focus more on it and like train more. Moving on when I got more serious and all.
Yeah.
But would I trade a little athleticism for some social prowess? Perhaps I would. But I subscribe to the outdated belief of the 4-year-old impressing the girl he has a crush on by seeing how high he can jump. That's still who I am as a person.
Yeah.
If I were to try to win someone's over, it's like, look at what I can do. Look at my tricks.
Yeah. That's a really interesting point that you say that homeschooling allowed you to become better at baseball because maybe you were okay with not like being at a social event or something. Like you were more okay with just like on a Friday night or a Saturday night, maybe working.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was both the lack of other opportunities, and then later on, it was the discipline was there, because it's like, what else am I gonna do? Like, no, there was nothing getting in the way of me doing the work I needed to do every day when I was homeschooled. When I got to high school, there were people, there were things, and those were very appealing things because they were brand new.
Yeah. What was how was the commute?
When I was homeschooled? We didn't have snow days.
I was talking to my mom about doing this episode before, and I was like thinking of stuff, and my mom was like, "Oh, like ask him how was the commute," and she starts laughing. I was like,
do you get it?
I was like, I have to ask that now.
Everyone's making the same joke now about work from home. Like, I showed up late still. I was like, I was late for school sometimes.
Yeah.
The school would start in the living room, and I was upstairs in my bedroom. And sometimes I slept in, and I showed up in my pajamas. And the teacher had to be cool about it, or she'd send me home.
Who was the teacher?
My mom. But I did take some online classes the 2 years of high school. I was homeschooled.
Yeah.
But
it
was more like Look, she did her part, and good woman. But Jamie Moran, she doesn't have a Twitter, or I'd plug it. But she's a tweet grandma based on
your name.
based on how family trees work. And no, so it wasn't like, okay, class, listen up. There would be, do this reading, figure this out. And there would be portions where she would teach from a book when I was little.
Mm-hmm.
And it was basically like, here's the assignment, read about it, ask me if you have any questions, do the assignment, then let's review the assignment. So I do this here, you got this wrong, let's review how you got it wrong. And it's tough because when you're a parent, you're really invested in your child's success, and you get frustrated when they're doing poorly in school, and you're like, what's up with the teacher? So when you're that person that's responsible for their success and the most invested in their success, like I look back, I wasn't aware of it as like a 12-year-old, but I was like, yeah, that's stressful for mom to be like, I want you to do so well, because it's kind of on me. Because parents always feel that way, good parents, but 100 times over when they're also like taking on the responsibility of being your teacher.
Yeah. I thought about that a little bit. Did that make you a more anxious student, you'd say, because you felt more pressure to do well because your parent was like, I mean, obviously, I think a lot of us look for our parents' approval when trying to get good grades growing up. But when your parent is directly grading your papers, it's like the feedback's so immediate.
Yeah. It's weird. I was it's weird. I was kind of a weird student just in general. Like I did well, tested well on standardized testing and whatnot. When I went to school, it was like, you better do well because we made it harder. We had you at a higher level, and this should be easy for you. And that was kind of my pitch. And it was for the normal stuff, but there's still, like, you do biology. It's the first time you've ever done biology, and you don't have a background for it. It's not like, it's just, are you smarter than other kids?
Yeah.
Or not? So I did well. I was a good student. It wasn't like, wow, this is easy. I wasn't valedictorian, and it was a tiny class, but I was probably like top 5 of 35. It was such a small school that it wasn't even that big an adjustment. Going up. Yeah. Because of how miniature high school was.
Yeah. I love how I was like, were you anxious as a student? And you're like, I was just so smart that like I didn't even feel the pressure, dude.
I haven't been anxious in life just because I'm good at it, Yeah. I was a good student. I didn't feel extra stress in high school because it was easy to do fine with super low effort. My parents would be more upset than most parents if I performed poorly. But when I went to college, I did not do great my first semester, and my parents were pretty disappointed. No, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Here's the actual thing. I got dropped down from a B- to a C-, a whole 10 points taken off my grade because of attendance when I was at every single class. But the teacher said sometimes I fell asleep, and she docked all of it. It's a huge vendetta of mine, and I carried it with me to the grave, which is inevitable. But
she docked you for falling asleep.
She gave me a 0 of 10 on attendance for the year because I got apparently I fell asleep. She didn't even show up to every single class. I showed up to every single class. I participated, whatnot. Sure, falling asleep, dock a couple points, give me an 8 of 10. But she took 10 points off. And
I've never forgiven her. How many times did you fall asleep?
I mean, I would be like blinky eyes. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, I'm good. Like just coming to constantly. But I was like drinking coffee. I was chewing gum. I was doing everything. I think I was like a little bit. I don't want to say I had narcolepsy because I didn't, but like probably the closest thing to it without it being official.
Yeah.
I had no control.
It wasn't you. It was the teacher.
Yeah. So then I got a bad GPA. My parents were disappointed, and then it turned out to be my best GPA all my time in school.
Oh, God.
So really, the first time I really did not meet their expectations, and they were disappointed. And then the second time I did poorly, they're like, "Oh, he's doing his best." And then, as I went from there. I mean, I'm making it sound dramatic. It wasn't like a nightmare, but it was so much. It was bad. I had a bad GPA.
Yeah. And then you went wild once the expectation bar was lowered. You're like, oh yeah.
At some point, and I'm unfortunately the way I am, because it was a pipe dream. I was playing at a D3 school, but I was like, I'm a baseball player. That's what I do. That was my focus. And I was like, athletic sports comes first. Spend all my time on that. And now I'm the same way with comedy. I'm like, yeah, sure, I have like a 9-to-5 job or whatever. It's like that job pays for 100% of your life, but I treat it the same way I treated school, where it's like I do what I have to do, but I'm here to tell jokes.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I think, I mean, growing up, I played a lot of tennis and stuff, and I kind of focused on that outside of school. So I can relate to like that being the primary focus even in college and stuff too. It's like even comedy became that thing, but it was like being okay with that being my primary focus.
So you would say priority over schoolwork?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I also see it as more important because it's what I enjoy.
I like that perspective.
Yeah.
Did you have that perspective at the age, or were you just like, no, this is fun and I like it?
No, at the beginning I didn't. Wait, so you're saying, did I have that perspective originally, or?
Yeah, were you able to say like, it's important to do things you're passionate about, or were you just like, no, I
Yeah,
like
yeah. I think so. I think I learned that more as I get older. Sorry, just a fuzzy thing.
I apologize again.
Sorry. No. So I initially, growing up, I thought it was important because tennis is something I was passionate about, but then like now comedy a little bit. But I think that it's important to do things. This is very genetic. This is, very just something that anyone.
Say your thing.
Say your thing. So it's like important to do what you like. As I've gotten older, I've realized it's important to protect that because I think it's harder to.
That's very real.
Yeah.
Because it's normal to have these side things, the extracurriculars. That's what we call them. But if you don't have extracurriculars that aren't just like drinking with your friends in the real world, it's gonna get dark quickly.
Yeah.
Gotta have it. But it's also, this is something that I think about when it comes to the baseball and the comedy comparison. Is so I had dreams, like I wanted to be a professional baseball player, and when I went to a Division III college, it was like, okay, that's probably not happening, but I still had enough hope where it's like, but there's time, I can grow, I can get better, and I progressed quickly when it began, and I had enough of just a tiny sliver of a hope of a dream that made the process so much more enjoyable because I had this incredible dream. And I was self-aware enough to be like, I'm the only person that thinks this is going to happen. Or I wouldn't even say I thought it was going to happen. I just hoped that it could still. And then by my senior year, I had an injury and surgery in between my junior and senior year. And it was like the final absolute nail in the coffin. There is a 0% chance you will ever play professionally. And I lost a lot of joy in doing it at that point because of the dream. It was still fun. I loved baseball for what it was, but without the dream, it was so much less of a passion for me. There was so much that was just what it represented was hope for like the ideal life. It's like, I'm a professional athlete. That's incredible. And I think with comedy, I enjoy open mics. I literally enjoy doing that, but I don't think I would consistently be able to enjoy and go out and do it if I didn't have a hope that someday it will be a much bigger thing for me.
100%. I completely agree. The believing in it aspect of like this can take off, and that even if it's a slim chance is so important to like, because that's what allows you to like put in work. Yeah. Like there's a shot that this thing will grow to a wide audience, or this thing will grow to like, I'll be able to do it for a living, and that hope drives you to probably work on it.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. Like if I were to play baseball for a living, then I don't have to have a normal job. If I were to be a comic, then I don't have a normal job. It's me trying to escape the mundane, and with things that I'm passionate about. It's not like anything other than a 9-to-5. That's not how I came across it. But the dream is that it will remove you from the mundanity of what most people are blessed to do, to put food in their mouths.
Who do you think that homeschooling fueled that, or at least helped, or maybe made you have more of an inclination towards dreaming that way, in terms of like, oh, like if I work really hard at baseball, I can make it. If I work really hard at comedy, I can make it. I just feel like generally just not being around people with their own, like with different beliefs or maybe common beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
maybe like, I don't know if it helped you, like being able to just be like, this is what I want and I'm just gonna go.
Yeah, that's a good question. I actually haven't thought of that before, been asked that before. I think it makes sense because most people, not so much when you're real young, but most people are going to drag you down because they're upset with the fact that this is their reality and you dream outside of that.
Yeah.
And it's like embarrassing to them. It's like, it makes people, I had a roommate at one point while I was doing comedy that, like, he got upset. He felt worse about himself because I was doing something creative. He's a terrible person, that's why. But
Yeah.
he was upset about that. It was
Yeah.
bringing out a side of him that was like, I know there's a creative part in me that I'm not tapping into, and the fact that you're doing it shows that you can do it and you can pursue it. And now I don't have an excuse, and I feel bad about me. And that's what
Uh,
people. That's what it is for a lot of people. So I think getting away from that as a result of being homeschooled, that it probably did, and also, but like, I didn't go on to play professional baseball. Like, the people that were saying no you're not, they were right.
yeah.
You know.
Listeners, we're giving some motivational wisdom, but we haven't
Take
achieved.
it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
I have a dream now, and the last dream didn't work out. So, but
Well,
that's the thing. It's such a weird like catch 22, because like, so I know it's not that likely, but I need it to be likely for it to be fun. But I know just knowing that it is possible is what makes it fun, not necessarily achieving it. The journey is what makes it fun, and the journey is only real if you think the destination is happening. And I do think I will get to that destination, but I'm okay if I stay treading water as
yeah.
long as mentally I'm still thinking that I'm gonna get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll tread
I
water till the day I die if it wouldn't ruin the illusion. As long
Oh
as
yeah. That's a very good point. I agree with that. Would you say that because due to homeschooling, like you were more inclined to do stand up? Like, do you think there was any correlation there?
Yeah, this is what I think it is. The needing to like, funny was a way to get attention. I think I was starved for attention because I was homeschooled. Like, I got attention at home, and I had a lot of siblings. And for someone with 6 siblings, I got plenty of attention from my parents. It wasn't like that. I just didn't get attention in general because the amount of people I interacted with were so minimal. So I think I have a way more of an appreciation for the feeling of being on stage and people laughing and appreciating you, because I did 2 groomsmen speeches for a couple of
Hell
friends,
yeah,
a
you
brother
did.
and a friend of mine, and murdered. Easiest thing in the world.
Hell
Any
yeah.
comic. I wasn't a comic at the point, but if you're a comic and you have an opportunity to do a best man speech and you don't murder like you've never murdered before, you should quit comedy and stop being friends with that person.
Yeah.
It is the best audience in the world. So I go up in front of like 150, 200 people. I read off a sheet of paper and I murder.
Yeah.
I murdered, Shiv.
Yeah.
And I said, sorry, this speech won't be too long. It's only like 2 pages, or as my college professor said, 6 pages too short. See me after class. And the crowd goes wild. The crowd goes wild, and I'm like, 6 pages too short. See me after class. Like, I don't know how. I have no stage presence. Anyway, it's electric. I feel like I've never felt before. I'm like, I'm gonna do stand-up comedy. I go. Oh my God, what a nightmare. I was just supposed to be there. They forced me to go up. I sucked. I was like riffing off stuff on my phone. Every first timer mistake you could possibly make. And I did it for like a little bit, and I sucked and I quit. And then I like started comedy. I say I started at the end of 2018, but really 2 years prior, I did like a dozen open mics and sucked. But when I started the second time around, there was an amazing audience at this open mic. It was like a variety open mic, like 50 people. And I got lucky. I went third, and I still sucked, but the audience was so electric. It was the best that I've ever had by far. And then I was able to get through all the suck, just having that dream of like, no, remember that time I was killing? And it took me a lot longer to realize I wasn't killing at all. They were just an amazing audience, but I'll be like, remember that time I murdered?
Yeah.
And I need to just get back to that. And by the time I realized I hadn't murdered, at
Yeah.
that point, I had just enough to float by on, and then I could like, all right, I'm doing this. I'm
Yeah.
coming now.
That's awesome. It feels like you really appreciate the like having a voice side of it, like to people, like being able to be heard.
Mm,
And like you saying like growing up and not, feeling like you maybe weren't heard as much. I mean, I completely feel that like in car rides with my family, like
yeah,
everyone would be talking and like have like their opinions heard. And I would like say
yeah.
something in the back and I was like the youngest and then like they would keep talking for like a solid like 10 minutes. And then like someone in the family would realize that I've been trying to say something for a long time. And they'd have to be
Yeah.
like, oh, guys, Shiv, hold on. Everyone stop. Shiv wants to say something. And by that time, like the thought that I had to say was way past what the conversation was.
And there's so much pressure on it now. It's
Yeah.
like, yo, you better have something. Oh, you interrupted this conversation. It better be good.
Yeah. And then I had nothing. And it just gave them more incentive to not listen to me in the future.
Dude, it's a real thing, dude.
Yeah.
The desperation to be heard with a lot of comics, I think that's very real. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, an audience that's forced to be here. Hell yeah.
How was in homes, like when you were homeschooled, how was the recognition thing? Like, I mean, in terms of getting good grades or feeling like you did something maybe
Mm.
academically well, like was there that type of validation?
Probably middle of the road for what I expect is normal. It wasn't like, and despite being homeschooled, it's not like my parents are obsessed with academia and it was like education is the most important thing ever. Uh, it was important to them, absolutely. And my parents are both very intelligent people, but it wasn't like all we care about is grades in school. That's the biggest thing in your life. But it was slightly more important than the normal person. And if I did well, I'd be congratulated. And if I did poorly, not so much. But I think I had a higher expectation for what was good and a lower one for what was bad. Like the threshold for bad wasn't that low.
Oh, okay, got
After I went to school and saw people getting like 33s on chemistry tests,
it.
I'd
Yeah,
be like, oh,
yeah.
this actually happened. When I was homeschooled and it's like you got a C, be ashamed of yourself. Like just curb my grade, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everyone in the class got a C. Let's call it a B plus and get out of here.
Yeah, did that give you anxiety too? Like just the fact that like applying to colleges, knowing that your parents graded and like probably on like the SAT or something, or when you applied, people would know that you were homeschooled. Like, did you guys have to? I mean, obviously the SAT is like standard, but you know,
Mhm.
was it like? I mean, if you had straight A's, like homeschooled, that your mom, like if your mom
Yeah.
gave you straight A's, like, do you think at colleges were like skeptical?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think my grades mattered much. I think in general the SAT is so huge just because like you could have a rigorous private school and just like a easy public school. There's so many variables. That's why it wasn't as big a deal,
Mm,
because the SAT is like what's important. So, and my grades pretty much like match my SAT
got it.
score. So it's like, all right, yeah, guy is where we would expect him to be, and I got opportunities accordingly.
Got
Uh,
it.
but there are people that were homeschooled and were taught nothing, and they're like right now we're in this quarantine and people are homeschooling their children, and I know some are like taking it crazy seriously and the kids are going to be better for it, and some are hardcore dropping the ball. And there's so much room. Like I know some kids who are homeschooled that are just idiots
Yeah.
and like socially lost cause, but
Yeah.
in like from a knowledge base they didn't learn anything for years. So you can I would be very skeptical of grades on a transcript
Yeah.
from a homeschooler, but it's like,
Right.
if you get a SAT, it's probably
Yeah. Our country's
yeah.
future right there in,
Right?
in their hands. Wait, speaking of dropping the ball, did you
Yeah.
ever drop the ball so badly while you were homeschooled that you got punished? Did you like get detention or
Mm. Ooh, good question. I
Peter go to the corner?
I I don't think I ever got in trouble for an academic performance. It would just be like, we're gonna sit here until you figure this out. And you've got to figure this out and stop doing it the wrong way. That kind of thing. But it wasn't, if it was like clearly you didn't try and you mailed it in, I'd get in trouble for that. I think I just had a higher or a lower trouble threshold for my general behavior. So all the stereotypes with
Hmm.
a family that would choose to homeschool their kids are pretty accurate, not to the most absurd extent, but like everything in like the strictness and the shelteredness and
Hmm.
the rigidness of that. Like my parents are very warm people, but aside from
Yeah.
that, I would say it's all just like what you would expect in that regard. So I was definitely like, one time I watched Indiana Jones and they said bastard, and then I said bastard, and then I was sent to my room in shame.
Got it. But I mean, your room's not a bad place to be, right? Like compared to like
Well,
detention.
I got detention a little bit in high school, and there are other people there. I think what I'm realizing now is it's all about being able to be around other people. But I shared a room, I guess.
You got detention?
No, I got detention in the 2 years that I actually went to a school. I got in trouble when I was homeschooled, but it wasn't detention.
Peter, I didn't know you got detention. That's a rebel over here.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I was a bad boy.
it was
I
for
was
like
beat.
it was for like parking in like the wrong spot, like in the teacher spot by accident one day.
I got it one time. I stood up in class and I screamed. This was when I was in school, junior year. I stood up in class in the back of the class and I screamed like "caw caw" at like 2:05. It was planned when the clock strikes 2:05. I'm gonna stand up and scream "caw caw," and I did that. And I didn't get detention, but I took a detention slip and I wrote down detention for me getting that to mess with my friends. And I put it in my pocket. And my mom washed my clothes at the time. Shame on me. I deserve this. She found the detention in my pants. And we're like, seriously, Peter? Standing up and screaming in the back of class? And I had to say, no, I made that up. But I did do
And she was like, she probably had trouble believing that.
it. It's like, that's not the son I raised. I don't, doesn't feel like you. I'm
So
like, ah.
so your joking started in school, like you wanted to be the funny guy.
I was like the funny guy in school, but it was at least half laughing at me. People
Hmm.
laughed with me, but they laughed at me a lot. So I was like an entity.
Yeah.
It was just like Peter Moran. Everyone always said my full name, Peter Moran, and I thought I was the shit. It was like Peter Moran. Oh, they love me, but it was more just like Peter Moran. He's crazy. He has no shame. He's gonna do something wild. That's probably humiliating, and we're gonna get a kick out
Yeah.
of it.
Do you think people? I mean, it sounds like you had a whole persona. So people just identified you with whatever they thought. Do
Yeah.
you feel like you were stereotyped because of the homeschooling? Like, I mean, obviously, like you said, you kind of are expressing that you were, but did that in like junior, senior year? I wonder how in the later years that affected your interactions.
I had a moment in college freshman year orientation where I did something a little like over the top. Not like a caw in the back of the class, but a little over the top. And I stopped and I thought, and I was like, am I going to be that guy? I have a chance to define who I want to be right now. Am I going to be this kid's kind of crazy? He's going to do something wild and funny, or do I want to chill out? And I realized by repeating it, I was like, no, this is actually who I want to be. I can curate my image right now, and I still want to be a little bit of a wild card, a little bit
Yeah.
of he might do something crazy. I think I held on to that to an extent.
Yeah.
Even now, I think that's a part of me.
Got it. Got it. And so it's weird though, like because I feel like the homeschooling thing, like probably it created this thing in people's heads where like maybe they couldn't completely like understand you,
Yeah.
and then like the way you related to them was through humor.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because I think it was like defense mechanism against like, oh, you must be weird, and me being like, yeah, I'm weird and it's awesome or
Yeah.
something. That's what
Yeah.
I thought I was doing. And to
Yeah.
some extent, people were like, oh yeah, it is awesome. And I was figuring things out along the way. Like as I was being that weird entity, I was learning how to actually be a normal person. Where
Right.
like that kind of it was normal, weird once I got comfortable enough to, and then the weird starts tailing off a little bit as I become a regular person that learns how to be a regular person. And then I maintained a certain level of weird.
No, I see what you're saying. So
But it was to It's hard to say like how I use the humor to communicate with them in that subject. I think it was more of a defense mechanism than
Yeah.
uh
Yeah.
method of communication.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, sometimes I feel like I use it even now. I mean, in generally, I think comedy, you can use it as a defense mechanism in general. But yeah, I guess
Yeah.
if people were stereotyping you like that, like you could totally use that as a like defense type of thing. Um,
Yeah,
I
I think
uh,
so.
I wanted to address this before we wrap up. But did you feel like you had more freedom in choosing, more or less freedom in choosing what you wanted to do post like homeschooling in terms of your career? Because you're obviously, you said your mom like was teaching you. Did you feel like that was a
Mm.
heavier impact on the direction career wise for you to go in?
I always felt a lot of pressure to a lot, but maybe a normal amount to like get a good job um and not waste the opportunities I've been given effectively. And like I'm
Mhm.
capable of this. You need to do something that you're capable of. I never had a passion in the like general. There's nothing I've ever wanted to be that you could go to school to be,
Yeah.
right? So I just did business. I took a business major because it made sense. I wanted to focus on baseball, and then I just went with it. It's like it sounds so extreme, perhaps, but my whole education was just like, yeah, whatever I got to do, and that includes pleasing my parents and not wasting. And I ended up like um, doing fine,
Yeah.
but I didn't. It wasn't like you're supposed to be. Uh, you're supposed to be a nurse like your mother or a lawyer like your father. It wasn't like that.
Oh,
It
got it.
was just
Got
like you should do well and succeed because we gave you every opportunity to succeed, and if you don't, you'd be letting us down.
it. Yeah.
Which is fair, honestly. It's fair. I
Yeah.
was given a lot more than most people are.
Yeah. That's really cool. It seems like it was very, or your experience, I feel like is very similar to like most people's experience in that regard too, of like
Mhm.
people who are like even in public schools or private schools, it's like same expectation.
Right. You can kind of look at like homeschooling and what it consists of, and you see a lot of those symbol of the expectations around someone that would homeschool their child or someone that would be homeschooled. You can apply a lot of that to someone that wasn't actually homeschooled. It's not so much the action of the homeschooling, it's the like we are very sheltered, we're very conservative, we place a high importance on education, and if we place a high importance on education, we have high hopes for you, and like you see that for a ton of people.
Yeah.
It's just like exaggerated when you're homeschooled.
Yeah. That makes sense. To finish off, I want to play a little game.
Yes.
Basically I'm going to name some celebrities, and you're going to guess whether or not they were homeschooled.
Oh, wait. Is there a threshold? Can they have been homeschooled for like a year?
Uh, I mean, I researched and I think it's pretty clear cut.
Okay.
Either they were like
Okay.
homeschooled or they weren't.
I'm excited for this. I
Yeah,
can't think of any off the top of my
and the name of this game is Homeschooled or Not.
head. Okay. I was hoping that would be it.
um, okay, here we go. If you get the majority right of these people right in terms of like yes or no, then you get nothing.
Okay. Okay.
And if you lose, then you lose nothing.
All right.
Just wanted to.
It's weird that you said lose nothing and get nothing instead of win nothing. That's my one hang up with this podcast so far.
Win nothing.
Okay. Now I'm trying to win nothing. That's what I
Okay,
want right
yeah.
now.
I mean, just try though.
I'll do my best.
All right. BJ Novak.
Oh, he could be homeschooled. He's got a. He would be such a great advertisement for homeschooling. His book is brilliant. I want to say homeschooled.
No.
Wait, okay. Damn it. They're not, none of them are going to be homeschooled. All right. I just said yes because I like him, and I realized that's the opposite of what I should have done.
Yeah, no, I think I don't quote me on this, but I think he went to school with like John. He went, yeah, to high school with like John Krasinski or something like that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the first one you got
popular in
wrong.
high school.
Say again.
John Krasinski, and by that I do mean Jim, probably was popular in high school.
Yeah, probably. Okay, move on to the next one. You can redeem yourself here.
Oh, big moment.
Blake Griffin, basketball player.
That's a tough one because he is kind of really cool, but kind of a giant loser that did what you need to do to be really cool. So for that reason, I'm saying homeschooled.
Yeah, he was homeschooled.
Yes. He read a book about how to be cool, and because he's rich, he can execute that book. Oh yeah, Blake Griffin, we see right through you, loser. You're insecure on the inside.
I love how you're making your judgment based off of the way people may have stereotyped you, like as it being homeschooled. They're like, oh, what's his personality like?
Yeah. I'm just as bad. I'm my own bully.
Maria Sharapova.
She feels like homeschooled because your tennis, you start at such a young age, you can't be in school and attending these tennis tournaments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
But she's not a homeschooler. She was homeschooled, but that's not a homeschooler. That is a child prodigy.
Yeah. That's smart. We got a smart one.
Hey, I learned at home.
And on all the episodes, all our guests are very smart.
Yeah, you guys are cool.
They pass in all the guests pass an IQ test before, but that's not true. We got Jay-Z.
There's no way. There has never been someone that was homeschooled and also sold crack. That's my rule of thumb is no homeschooled crack dealers. Jay-Z, not homeschooled.
No, but yeah, you're right. He didn't graduate high school though, because I think because of the selling crack part.
The selling crack might have had something to do with it. It's tough to find buyers at the homeschool.
Yeah. I love that. They're like, those are mutually exclusive. Getting homeschooled and selling crack.
It's too big a leap.
Thomas Edison.
Oh.
I was so excited to pick this one. I'm like, nobody knows this one.
I bet he is a homeschooler, was not homeschooled. I don't because it would be fine if you stopped going to school as an 8-year-old in that time. So like, wow, like for the parent to go out of the way to school you when you should be just helping out on the farm. I want to say he went to school.
He was homeschooled.
Oh, Tommy. It's kind of good, invented the light bulb.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have, if he was doing at school math, he would never. I bet he was just too much of a genius for school. They're like, yeah, come home and read books.
Yeah.
There were only like 6 books at that point, so he just flew through them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And had to get to inventing. It makes sense, actually. That makes a lot of sense.
Dude, that's a hard one. I'm gonna acknowledge that one was impossible.
I appreciate that.
Jimmy, you're welcome for the empathy. Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel. So I think of him as a showbiz baby. So he could be kind of a blend between weird parents and child prodigy homeschooled, where it's like, you're going to be in the movies. Because he was in it pretty young, but he seemed cool on SNL. Right now, he seems like more of a homeschooler than that. So I think, but theater kids are weird anyway. He was homeschooled.
No.
Wishful. Every time I say homeschooled, it's just wishful thinking.
I love seeing you go back and forth in your opinion. Yeah. He's weird, but not weird enough. He's too cool to be homeschooled, but he is weird. It's like
because on SNL it felt pretty young, and it's like that would have been too recent escape from the homeschool to still be that cool. He needed more time to breathe.
Yeah, it's like you have this weirdometer.
Exactly.
Gandhi.
I don't think Gandhi had access to school.
Yeah, be careful.
So
this,
he was
this is my guy.
I know, and he just seems. We haven't defined whether homeschooled is a good or a bad thing. He's so, you have to say, he's like one of the most unique people ever.
Yeah.
So he had to have been homeschooled. You have to say it. It took homeschooling for that to happen. But can you experience Gandhi tragedy and be schooled at home? Yes, he was homeschooled.
He was not. He actually.
Of course he wasn't.
I read his like part of his autobiography. I didn't finish it because who finishes books?
Yeah,
but yeah. I mean, I do occasionally. You should if you're listening. You should
I've finished 3 or 4 this year so far.
That's all,
I'm lagging.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Good job.
Thanks, man. One was like kind of children's.
They're all like children's.
It was like a Stephen King beginner book, basically. It was like 10,000 words. I'm pretty sure.
They're all like Clifford. They're all like Clifford books. Or like Green Eggs and Ham.
Oh, Green Eggs and Ham, Clifford. Those are my guys. I love those books. Dr. Seuss, Richard C. Oh my God, dude. Trip down memory lane. That's what I wish I had right now. Children's book.
Yeah, that's the best thing. But yeah, Gandhi had probably one of the most schooling of all the people I've listed. So you couldn't have been any more wrong. I think that he was like he went to like law school, I think, too. Like after, so he didn't even like.
Look, you can be homeschooled and go to law school. You just can't go to law school at home.
Yeah. That's true. Actually, I didn't check that. All right. No, he wasn't. All right. I'll end. We'll end with this one. Kanye West.
I would consider myself someone pretty in tune with Kanye, but. No, because he was the backpack and polo. That had to be in high school.
Yeah.
I say no. He went to school.
Graduated.
Yeah, we'd have to know about it.
And for Wikipedia, I thought this was funny. When asked about his grades in high school, West replied, "I got A's and B's, and I'm not even fronting."
That makes sense. I bet he did. He's a little bit of a nerd. I bet he cared about school.
Yeah.
Rappers caring about school spectrum. Yeah. He's high. Also on the other one.
Yeah. I love how in that he defends himself. He's like, I got A's and B's. I swear I didn't.
I swear. You want to see my transcript? I'll get it right now, dude. I have a diploma. Trust, it's in here somewhere.
As if he needs that now.
When he shows up for his interviews.
Cool. Well, that was the game. I didn't keep track, but I think you definitely didn't get the majority of them right.
I feel like I won nothing.
We should just play that game just as a it's like
forever.
Hang out, like
bring like baseball cards next time, and I'll just be like, Maria Sharapova. Yep.
Cool. Well, that was all I kind of wanted to talk about. I hope everyone listening got a better glimpse of what being homeschooled is like. Maybe of the stresses that go along with it. Some of like the stereotypes and stuff. Peter is, he's amazing. So Pete just, if you're thinking of homeschooling your children and you want them to turn out like Peter, then go for it.
That's a prescription, maybe.
Yeah. Before we end this, Peter, do you want to do any plugs?
Tweet Daddy, you gotta follow me. I'm Peter Moran, Moran. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. I'm putting out stuff all the time. Also, if you send an email to pmorannewsletter@gmail.com, every Sunday night I drop a little story.
Hell, dude, I need to be on that.
That's mostly who the plug was for.
Yeah.
Just send subscribe and you're on there for life.
And I still
unless
have
you
to
send unsubscribe.
Yeah. And I still have to follow you too. No, I'm kidding. I follow him. He is amazing. He's very funny. Very funny tweets. Very funny on all the platforms. So definitely follow his stuff. Thank you guys so much for listening. Stay tuned for our next episode, which would be coming out, very soon. So thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.